Welcome everyone to episode 7 of Higher Minds. We are back here today with Rebecca. Hello, Rebecca. How are you doing today?
Hey, Josh. I'm good. Thanks for having me back. Hey, everyone.
Well, thanks for being here. It's good talking to you again. We got some interesting stuff to talk about today. But
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's always fun to talk to you. So let's take a quick look here. We got who we got in the chat. I seen Mr. Super made the first comment a couple of days ago, and he will be joining us also. We just are having a little technical difficulties with the sound, and he dropped out. So hopefully he's trying to get back in. Then we had Propagate This Light, Little Cam 51. B is here. Julie is here. Pushing Buttons. Joe King. Red Storm. Jackie McCarran. Noel is here. And LJ made it in last minute there. And that looks like everybody so far. So thank you guys all for being here and listening. Here's Mr. Supers. Supposed to be on internet, but is actually acting stupid.
Oh, he better get up here.
Don't feel well. He said he'll try from the PC in a few minutes. So
okay. I hope he feels better.
Yeah, I didn't know he wasn't feeling well. But all right. So you want to just get right into it, and I know me and you have talked about this before, but you want to just tell us, I don't know where you want to pick up or how much you want to or where you want to start, but
okay. Well,
you said you've had some experiences, so go ahead.
Yeah. And I know I'm not the only one. I know so many of us in this community have had such strange experiences. But I mean, okay, how do I start this? So the last show we talked about my experience in magnet school or the gifted and talented program, and I never really it didn't really connect the dots, because we're taught this place is like finite, and so anyhow, I thought it was a near-death experience, but I wasn't in a hospital, and it wasn't, I don't have any actual proof that I died. And there was no accident. But do you just want me to start from the beginning, kind of like the email that I sent to Guy Fawkes that he read on his channel? Do you want me to just explain?
Well, whatever. Yeah, whatever you want. Yeah, sure. That's a good starting point.
Okay, so this was, well, I guess I could start with the lockdowns, right? So I've worked my whole life, like the majority of us. And then during the lockdowns, I was laid off. And it actually was a blessing for me because I had worked my whole life. And at one point I was a single mom and not asking for pity. It's twice as hard when you're alone. Everybody knows that, that's been through it. So when the lockdowns took place and I was laid off, of course I'm remarried, and my husband was working full time. And so it was like a vacation for me. I was like, okay, you're going to pay me to go home. I'm game. I couldn't send the laptop back fast enough. And it was a really weird time, obviously, for everyone in the world. But for me, I was just like, oh, finally I can breathe. I don't have to worry about this corporate position. So anyways, I started drinking because it was like a permanent vacation for me. And I became very dedicated to drinking, drinking all night, sleeping all day. And I'm not proud of it, but I literally, that I lived and breathed. I was an alcoholic. I guess you're once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Always, I've always kind of been that person, an all or nothing, either do it or don't. And so when I had all this free time on my hands, I was like, this is what I really enjoy. And um, it it got really bad. I was drinking for 2 years straight. I could probably count the sober moments on my hand. And I have 2 children, and anyhow. So 2 years after the lockdowns, um, pretty much we we were out of money. It was probably the lowest point in my life, and of course, all I was thinking about was the next drink because I was completely dependent on it. And my husband said to me, "You have 30 days to get sober, or you're out." And he's like, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And I took offense to that. This was in October of 2022. And I was really angry. I thought I was very self-righteous. How dare you say that to me, and blah, blah, blah. But I took a moment, I took a breath, and I thought, you know what? He's right. I am part of the problem. I am the problem. So we had a family meeting, and I told my family that I'm an alcoholic and I'm going to quit. And because we didn't have any money, it was either they eat or I drink, and so it wasn't fair. It was really weird.
Yeah.
It was good weird, but at the time it felt awful. I was humbled to an extent. I had never been so exposed, I guess, in my life, but I knew I needed to do it. So I sat in the living room with family, and I was crying, and I said, I'm going to go through withdrawals, and it's going to look like I'm dying, and I'm not. It's just part of the process. And so that was Saturday. Let's see. So that was Saturday. So probably like October 23rd, I believe. And I cooked for my family that whole week, whatever we had in the house, and I didn't eat. And I just felt so awful. It finally hit me how selfish I was. And so that whole week I didn't drink, and I didn't really eat, like I said, because I was putting them first. It was really strange because I expected to go through these horrible, horrible withdrawals, being a 24/7, 365 drunk for 2 solid years. I expected to be just, and when I say I drank, it wasn't social. I mean, it was hardcore sloshed every night. So I really expected to just go through some really deep withdrawals. So
Yeah.
I made it through that week, and my husband's paycheck showed up. And so we went out as a family to eat, excuse me, to have dinner. And in my selfish mind, I thought, oh, my tolerance is reset. So, I can just get back to doing what I was doing, and it'll be all okay. We're caught up. It was, I figured 7 days is enough, right? I did a lot of praying that week, though. I will admit that. It was almost, looking back, I was fasting, and I didn't realize it, right? It was, a lot of people, when they fast, it's a conscious decision. But for me, it was just, okay, this is an opportunity to sacrifice myself because I've literally stolen from my family. And I felt, like I said, I just felt awful. Okay, so that was the Thursday after the intervention, I guess. My husband's intervention wasn't a full-fledged, but so by Friday, he said, you know what, you've done a great job. I'll get you a pint. I was a Captain Morgan girl, so he got me a pint of Captain Morgan, and I thought, okay, this will be great. And so I had a couple drinks on Friday night, and nothing happened. I mean, I could have just been drinking straight Dr. Pepper or a glass of water. It was like, so I was a little defeated, and I was like, that's okay. I'll just try again Saturday night. So it was Saturday, October 29th, 2022, I believe. And I had some more drinks and nothing happened. And so that was 2 nights in a row. And I was like, okay, I put in the work. You know, I was like, this should be enough. Right? That's not so stupid. But I just thought to myself, you know what, if this isn't going to do it, then what's next? You know, what's next level? And I just couldn't bring myself to think about that. So it was about 2:00 in the morning. So this was actually like October 30th, 2:30 in the morning. And I just laid down. My husband's sound asleep, and I had made myself something to eat, and I just was crying. I'm just such a mess, you know. And and forgive me if I get emotional, because I haven't really talked about this in this capacity in a while. But I just started. I prayed, and I was always praying for, you know, God, please just take this pain from me, and just selfish prayers, you know, not really thinking about anyone else, just all myself. And something changed, and I just started praying for people that I had not thought about, I don't know, in 30 years. You know, just names just started running through my head. So I just started asking God to bless them, because at this point I'm like, I'm a useless individual. And so it's so hard to explain, but I'm sure others have gone through it. But I started to shake, but it wasn't from the tears. I wasn't ugly crying. I was just kind of like, I guess, like detoxing my soul. And so I started to shake. And like I said, I was laying down in bed, and my husband was sound asleep. Our dogs were asleep. The kids were asleep. And so my eyes closed, and I'm praying in my head, because I do have an inner monologue. And so I started to shake, and I was shaking from the inside out. But it wasn't scary. And I'm sure other people could probably explain it better, but other people that have experienced that type of thing. And I was facing the door to our bedroom, which is facing our kitchen. And through my eyelids, I could see a light. And I thought, one of the kids are up, they're in the kitchen. You know, I'm still thinking in the physical, but I'm praying at the same time. And I've got this shaking going on. And then I start to feel like my body rising. And I'm sitting here thinking, what's going on, you know? And I still see this light through my eyelids, or what I thought was through my eyelids. And I was laying on my stomach, and it's kind of like doing a push-up, but a slow one. You know how you just kind of eat, like, or a back stretch if you're on your stomach.
Yeah.
But my body was still in place, and I could literally feel my spirit separating from my body. And it had something to do with the vibrations, with whatever, the shaking. I know it sounds very simplistic, but I started to think, I can't feel my toes. And it was very strange, because part of me wanted to feel my toes again, but the other part of me was like, let's see what this is about. And so I had never listened to NDEs or out of bodies or any of that, because honestly, I didn't think it was real. And I guess that's just one of those things that if you're not interested, you have to experience it. And I don't know if it was the prayer or the fasting, or maybe finally in my life, I put others before me and stopped being so selfish. I don't know, but I felt like, okay, something's happening. And so I started to think, I'm dying. I'm dying. This is what death is. And like I said, I wasn't in a hospital. So I can't, it might have just been a spontaneous out of body or whatever, but it may not have been a near death, but I didn't know. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. So backtrack. So I'm out of my body, and I start thinking about my children and my husband. And next thing I know, I am somewhere else. But I wasn't in a tunnel. I wasn't in the light, but I was with a light being. It was like I had a guide or a guardian or, at first I thought it was Jesus, but I didn't bow. It was like we were just buddies, you know. It was really, really interesting. And there was no verbal communication. It was all telepathic. And my first question is, what about my children? And the response, like I said, this was telepathic. It's not like you and I talking. It was really interesting because I was receiving the answers in my mind. And the response was like, are you kidding me? They're going to be fine. But it wasn't condescending, like, you're so stupid, of course they're going to be fine. It was like, find peace. This is it's all okay, you know. And so I relaxed, and I saw, okay, so I say it's a he, but I really don't know. I'm assuming that's just kind of the vibe I got. But we turned away from the light that I saw, right? And I didn't go through a tunnel or any of those things. It was, and I didn't see my body, but I was somewhere else. So after I asked about my husband and my children and received that response, I was at peace, and it was like a euphoria. It was, no drug in this world can compare to the peace and love that I felt in that moment. It was off the charts, and I can't even I could explain it better right after it first happened because I was still feeling the effects. But now I'm, like I've told you, I'm kind of settled back in, and so I'm, back in this world. It's hard to explain, but I guess the way, that first kiss, your first love, and it's like explosive, and you just feel like otherworldly. It's like that times a million. It was insane. But there was nothing physical about it. It was a completely spiritual experience. And so I'm like in this waiting room, it seemed like, and I saw my brother-in-law, who's deceased. And I yelled out to him. We did not exchange it, but he saw me, and I saw a few other people that were deceased as well, and there was no communication with them. It was just like I was meant to see them, and they were sitting around and like they were waiting, but they didn't look. They were just fine where they were. So I asked this light being telepathically. I mean, this sounds so weird to say it out loud. It sounds so crazy, but I was like, I don't understand. Am I dead? And the response that I did ask, where are the trackers? Like the track, because I'm such a conspiracy theorist. And I pointed to my ears and to my teeth and another section of my body where I had surgery. But I'm not in a physical body. I don't know what I'm looking like at this point. And then I received a yes. So that was like confirmation of surveillance in this world for me. But I did ask, what am I supposed to be doing? And I received the message, remember what I want you to remember. Those are the pieces of your puzzle. And then I also received just plant seeds, just drop seeds. And then that was it. was the end of, I don't remember anything after that, except waking up the next morning and being completely pissed off that I was back here. Because it was such an amazing experience. And, but the first thought when I got up the next morning was, this is a script. I don't know how I knew that. I had never even considered that we were in some kind of a theater or a school or anything for that matter, but I just knew the next morning that this is all a script. And so, I mean, that was basically the experience in a nutshell, but I never touched another drink. It'll be 3 years this October 30th since I had a drink. And I remember, like I said, I was really pissed. Not like rage filled, just disappointed, I guess.
Yeah,
because
right.
because I was so comfortable wherever that place was. If it's the in between, if it's just a step above here, it just felt there was so much peace. There was no pain, there was no addiction, there was no confusion, misunderstanding, and it felt so brief. But it changed my life. It changed my life.
Well,
go ahead.
That's what I was going to ask is, like, how long did it seem like to you that it was? Like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, or just like 30 seconds?
Yeah, I would say maybe 5 minutes is what it felt like. But I could have stayed there forever. Like I said, wherever it was, whatever was happening was, I've never felt that and time did run differently wherever I was. And it was just so amazing. And so the next day, I tell my husband, I tell my sister and my mom, and I go visit my mom, I go visit my sister. I'm so excited. I'm like, okay, I'm here. I've got a job to do. I'm not sure what it is. And they looked at me like I had lobsters crawling out of my ears. I mean, seriously, like, you are nuts. You've lost it. Because I think I told you, I lost a bunch of weight, and it wasn't overnight. I think that had something to do with the fasting. But in all honesty, they thought I was on drugs. And I'm like, I've never been more sober in my life. I'm like, you can test me for anything. And I was receiving all of this information for months afterwards. And I never really recognized the Mandela effect until after that moment, because the message I received had to do with memory. And I was like, that is important. There's something about memory. And I considered MK Ultra. I thought, pardon my expression, but I was like, my handler do something to me, when I started to second guess things. And I was running through all of these things, and I couldn't sleep for months, but it was a spiritual high. There's no other way to describe it. And I didn't know what it was. I had no concept of an out of body or near death. I had no concept of the spiritual awakening. None of these things were on my radar. And the Mandela effect I had just heard about, I think I told you, in 2018, and I was so terrified I just brushed it off. I said, no, my Bible's not changing. And then this happens.
Yeah.
And another key thing is I had no fear. I have been anxiety driven my whole life, since as long as I can remember, definitely since the magnet school. So that was 40 plus years ago. I have always been afraid of the boogeyman, of what I can't see, afraid of what the world tells me to be afraid of. And this experience changed my life. I'm not going to give medical advice, but I was on antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication for 13 years. I quit cold turkey after that. That is not medical advice. I don't advise anyone to do that. But after that night, my life changed I seriously, the alcohol stayed on the shelf. My husband asked me 2 days after, "Are you going to drink that?" "Nope, you can have it. I'm not going to touch it." And it wasn't, I wasn't even tempted. It was,
Yeah, it's amazing.
it was so amazing. It would, and then I went on this kind of, I guess, like the carnivore diet. I didn't want to eat anything that was not pure. So it was so out of character for me. Um, after the fact, it was like a total 180 from my personality. And it was such a blessing to me. But I can't tell you what happened because I don't really know. I don't really know if I died. I don't know if it was a spontaneous out of body. Did it have anything to do with the gifted and talented program? Does it have anything to do with spiritual gifts? I just know that my life changed. And now I lean more on intuition, and I just I'm not. What was that? Did you hear that?
Oh, yeah, I think that was my text message. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No, you're fine. I was like, oh crap, what's going on now? But it was such an amazing experience, and I wanted to tell the world. But I'm kind of glad that I didn't like scream from the rooftops, but I wanted to. I really wanted to. You and I have discussed this after the fact. I mean, after I call it my divine intervention, out of body, change of life experience, whatever. Um, I really felt like I should just run into the wilderness. Seriously, not that I thought I was Jesus. That's not what I'm saying. But I was so misunderstood. And I was trying to, all this information was coming in at once and pieces were falling together. And I could not get anyone in my life to understand. And I'm just really grateful, I guess, that they didn't lock me up. But I know other people have had similar experiences where, we talk about the download for like the Mandela effect, but that's like reverse concept. Like I was like receiving
Mhm.
answers that without a whiteboard and that sort of thing, I couldn't make people understand. And did you see the movie Numbers with Nicolas Cage years ago, where he was receiving all this
I don't think
information?
so.
Okay, well, he started. Look, I'm not comparing myself to him, but it's regarding. I think there's a scene in the movie where he's just writing numbers like all over a chalkboard. It's just it makes sense to him, but it makes no sense to anyone else. And that's kind of how I felt. I was doing all this. I couldn't sleep. I didn't need to sleep. I could, and like I said, this was about 6 months for about 6 months after the event. It was, I could feel the vibration in my body, and I believe that was my spirit. And I do believe we all have the ability to receive it. And I've done a lot of research since then, but I fell into the Bible, I fell into the KJV, and then that's where I saw the Mandela effect for myself. And I was like, I'm not going to throw any expletives, but I did. And I was like, crap, they're right. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I just started looking at all different kinds of different theories about the world. And I kind of broke out of my religious dogma. I still have beliefs, um, but I started to look at things differently and started to question more and not be afraid to question. Um, but the experience changed my life. There's no, I will never deny it. I believe that. Um, I'm grateful that my rock bottom wasn't worse, though. I know a lot of people, when they hit rock bottom and they have a change of life, it's a lot worse than where I was. I was in the
Yeah.
comfort of my own home and in my bed, and I could have been strung out on the streets. Could have been a lot worse. But
Yeah. Support. You had support of your family and
mhm,
all that. So yeah, yeah,
mhm,
it could have been way worse.
absolutely. And I'm afraid that if I had not maybe allowed myself to be humbled and admit where I was wrong and taken accountability, that's where I would have ended up. Because whatever I was doing in this world wasn't enough. And I'm just really grateful. I'm really blessed that, although I was disappointed that I'm back in this crazy world, that it didn't have to go to the next level before that happened. So, I hope I wasn't misleading with NDE, but like when I sent it to Guy, I didn't know any other I didn't have any other explanation. I had not. To me, that's what happened. And if that is death, then it's. I think we all fear the process and not the actual afterlife. You know, I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, that's how it feels. And like I said, you know, wherever I was, I don't believe I was in heaven per se, but I was definitely somewhere way more comfortable than there was.
Yeah.
There was no. I'm serious. I mean, we talk about pain, and there's so many different levels of pain. There's physical, there's emotional, there's spiritual, and then we have trauma, and we have ego, and we have emotion, and we have all of these things, and all of that was just stripped away, Josh. I'm serious. It was the most amazing experience of my life, and it's so personal. And I mean, here we are on the internet, and I'm telling you the story, but
we're all amongst friends, so.
I know, and I'm so glad. I'm so blessed for this community, and I kind of just like bulldoze my way in because I'm like, I need help. I don't know what's going on, but I started listening to other people's near-death experiences or out of bodies, and I know that I know a lot of people say DMT can cause the same thing and things of that nature, which I don't doubt. I believe that if you're meant to experience something, you will, right? So it just kind of goes along with the fact, you know, like the picture that you showed on the last episode that I was a guest, the picture that my son took.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I think about it, because my mom had said that picture was taken 12 years ago. And my mom had said, that's your guardian angel. And I was like, well, he looks pretty pissed to me. But you know what? If it was my guardian angel or my spiritual sponsor or whatever, and he made himself known, he had every right to be angry with me because he was probably white knuckling everything at that point because I wasn't behaving myself. For years, I was so selfish and so shallow and so materialistic and just taking this world way too seriously that I wish I had thought during what I call my divine intervention, out of body, near death. I wish I had thought to ask, well, who are you? And maybe I did, and maybe I just don't remember. But I came back with what I felt like was needed for me personally. But where I failed when I came back is I thought I knew it all. I thought I had the answers to the universe and I was going to tell everyone. And I told my family and they are like, you're so self-righteous. Who are you? And I'm like, but I had this experience. And so it took a couple of years to prove that, number one, I don't know anything any more than anybody else. And that's why my handle is Elephino. Hell if I know. I don't know what's going on. But we're all in this. And like Mr. Super said, you know, we've got to love our neighbor. And we have to and we have to empathize where we can, but we don't want to feel everyone's pain, but definitely sympathize and say, you know what, I'll help you where I can. I don't have all the answers. This is my experience, and you don't have to believe me. I'm not going to force anyone to believe me, but my track record shows that I've been sober now. And I've always been a drinker, but I was always a binge drinker. So 2 years was the longest I went where it was solid. There was no break. But just the biggest gift that I was given was that my anxiety was removed. And I will never forget
Oh, wow.
that experience, because anxiety can be debilitating. It can show itself in physical forms, just like depression, and
Mm-hmm.
um, and then it makes you dependent on a system that's set up to fail you to begin with, and you don't even know. So that was the. I'm sorry, I'm speaking in generalities, and I always say you, and I'm not talking about you specifically. Um,
Yeah, I got you.
yeah, just to clarify, I don't want you to think I'm like, hey, Josh, it's all your fault. But but it was the most, like I said, I came back and I was like, this world can't offer me anything that compares to what's on the other side. Nothing. There is nothing that's, and like I said, that's for me personally. I am never going to tell anybody this is what you have to do. I can advise you, if you can fast and you can pray, I do believe that you'll see a change in your life, because I experienced it. But I had to get to the point where I had nothing else to get there. And I
Yeah.
just pray that people don't have to get to that point before they have such a glorious experience. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much it in a
So,
nutshell.
well, that was good timing because Sandy just showed up. Hey, Sandy, how you
Hey,
doing?
hey, Sandy.
Hi guys, how are you tonight?
Good. So glad you're here.
Doing good. Yeah.
Well, I'm here, but if you can see my subtitle, which you can't see because there's a comment on the screen, it says lurking while on air. Because I promised I'd be
It's
here,
funny.
but I'm also still getting ready. So I'm here, but I'm listening. I'm listening to what you have to say.
Thank you so much, my friend. I'm so glad. I told Josh, I was like, don't let me word vomit all over your show. Stop me.
No, no, no. Don't be. You're great, and
Well, thank you.
I want to listen. I want to hear what you have to say. So I might chime in,
Yeah.
but I'm here. I'm just
Thank,
also working and
Well, cool. Well,
listening.
thanks. Yeah, that's what I said. You'll probably be here, but do like you do, and uh, interject when you can, but be working on the show in the background because you put so much work into your show, and
Oh,
you
not
work up
this
to the
one.
very last minute. So, not this one. Oh,
No, no, no. We're doing the
so this is going to be
helpline
just an
tonight.
average.
We're doing the
Oh,
helpline
okay.
tonight. Yeah, no,
Okay,
but
cool.
I'm still trying to get stuff thrown together. I have to send links out. That's the thing. So,
Yeah, I
thank you
but
gotcha.
so much for my beautiful avatar. I love it. It's so pretty. Oh my
oh, you're
gosh.
welcome.
It is gorgeous. Thank you so much. And thank you for showing your support for me. I appreciate it. I love you so much, Sandy. Thank you.
I love you too.
I think we all love Sandy.
Yes, you can't help but love her.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's so nice having a girl around.
Oh my gosh, that's what I told Josh and Mr. Super that too. I was like, I really need a female to walk through this journey with me, please. This is, really crazy. So
Yeah, I
I'm
don't know
so
why
glad.
there's so many like even my statistics, it's like 75% men.
I believe it.
It's like, where are all the girls at? Where are the females at? What are you watching?
I
Get
know.
over here. Get away from the makeup. Come over here.
Right. We have issues here. We've got bigger problems. Let's discuss those.
Yes, we do. I mean, there are some, don't get me wrong, but the ratio is off, you
It
know?
definitely is. Yes. And I don't even have the numbers. I totally believe you. 100%. So,
So what are you guys talking about? What did I interrupt?
She, I don't know how long you've been here, but yeah, she just told her story about her out of body experience,
Missed the whole
um,
thing.
and then her recovering, or her quitting drinking, and how it's changed her life and that kind of stuff, uh,
That's
and
nice.
oh, just for everybody, uh, what's on the screen here is the picture that we were talking about a few minutes ago that her son took, where there was nobody in the room. It was just he just snapped it on a little cheap flip phone camera, and And so that was the picture. But we do have a question for you here, Rebecca, from Pushing Buttons.
Okay.
Hey, Pushing.
It
Hi,
says,
chat.
Hey, Push.
he asks, have you listened to William Donahue on YouTube? He's had his teachings that break down the Bible in a way that I've never heard anyone do so. I think you would dig it. So yeah, have you ever heard William
I'm actually
Donahue?
subbed, but
Are you?
I haven't actually sat down and listened to any of his videos, and I should. You're right, Push. It's probably exactly what I need to hear. I have been just these past 2 years literally trying to break all programming that I can to try to understand my experience better. So I'm trying not to how do I explain this? Because I think you're right. I think I should sit down and listen to his videos because they're old. They're older. Like, aren't they like 14 years? I think is one of the oldest ones that I've seen. But I've just been trying to get as much information from as many outlets as possible, but not becoming a cult follower, I guess, with anything. That is one thing since this experience is that I have such trouble with anyone who says, I know this to be fact. Because I don't feel like we know anything to be fact. Well, okay, let me rephrase that. There is probably a group somewhere that's ruling the world that knows all of this stuff, that knows that people are having these experiences and knows exactly what's going on. But I feel like as a whole, the collective, we're like in speculation mode. And that's where I failed. And I know that had nothing to do with Push's question. I'm sorry. But I do need to dig into those videos and see exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out too. I've never heard of William Donahue.
Yeah, I'm actually subbed to him, which is weird. I don't know. I'm really big on reading comments on videos. I've gotten to the point when I'm watching anything on YouTube or Odyssey or wherever, I want to see what the people have to say and not necessarily the presenter. You know, I want to see what other people are saying because there's you and Sandy and everyone else who has a channel, you know, that like, people will drop like, hey, you should read this book or hey, you should see this video. And it gets lost in the comments, you know, and so I just try to kind of pick up wherever I can and try not to be a cult follower.
There's a lot of smart people out there in the comments and in chats that my buddy, my best friend that I've known for like 30 years, he's been trying to tell me to read the chat, read the comments on videos for like 5 years now. He's just been trying to pound, and I've never been into the comments until probably the last 6 months or so. But yeah, he's totally right. You know, like I'll watch a video and I'm like, where is this guy coming from? Is he saying this or is he saying that? And then you read the comments and it clears it all up. You know, like 90% of the people are calling him out for, you know, like, oh yeah, this is crap. This is, or, you know, you're right on track. You know what I mean? So
it's amazing.
I think there's a lot of, and
I never did either. I'll say this before my event, I was a lurker, like totally a lurker, like not engaged, like afraid of surveillance. I'm not going to leave a comment on anything, but I was watching all kinds of stuff. And then after, like I told you, you know, after my event, I was no longer afraid. I had so many questions. And like I told you in the first interview or the first conversation we had about the GATE program, I had this completely irrational fear of authority. And that includes just conversation with people I didn't know, which is really weird because I'm a super vocal person. But in certain situations, I can't believe I'm having this discussion with you guys online. Seriously, it's okay if I'm in the chat or if I leave a comment now, but public speaking or just speaking to more than 5 people makes me so nervous. But after my event, I was like, I've got questions, and people, I know there are people out there who can answer them, or at least maybe not give me a 100% certifiable, you know, validated answer. But it's kind of like the research that you do and that Sandy does and that we all do. It's like, okay, I'm going to have to take this situation and run with it and put it together the best way I possibly can.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean I'm right. It doesn't mean that I'm right. Because there are so many people out there that have much more brilliant minds than I do, or brilliant mind. I didn't even say that correctly, but there's just so many questions. These theological, philosophical, esoteric questions, like how does this happen? How does this happen? And I don't know. I think it's great. There's so much information that it can be overwhelming, but it can be underwhelming too. There can be times when, oh, I wanted it to be bigger than that, you know, or but the comments, I really think that's where the meat is. But it takes a presentation or in order for people to start talking, and that's where the seed planting comes in, regardless of your religious perspective or your spiritual perspective. Talking about these things makes the conversation come to fruition, and people may or may not get answers, but at least they're thinking, hey, this is a possibility. Like you and I were talking, you and Mr. Super and I were talking yesterday. I never considered reincarnation ever in my ever like that was a big no-no until about a year ago. And then I was like, okay, if my Bible's changing, which it is, or it's not the Bible that I'm used to, just from a Christ following perspective, then anything is possible. And I can't throw anything off the table. And I'm interested in different philosophies. And I want to talk about these things because 3 years ago, I was terrified to even consider it. And now I'm like, hey, the sky's the limit. Literally, you know, we can have these discussions. There's no harm. And so I agree. There's answers and more questions in the comments. But like you said, there are brilliant people out there. And there's so many different ways these conversations could go. And so that.
Yeah, right. So they don't always have the answers, but they can, a lot of times they have the information to direct you to go find, go find the answers.
Or at least think for yourself and say, okay, you don't have to depend on someone else to answer this question for you. Maybe you will come up to a different conclusion, and that's okay. But who wrote, not, okay, I don't mean to. My biggest question my whole life is why? Who made the rules? What are the rules? You know, and those were questions I never really asked. They were just stuck in my head. You know, 12 years of high school and then a little bit of college, and I was like, so what are we doing here? You know, what's the end goal? And so I was told my whole life, well, it's to have a nice house and to make a lot of money and to live a comfortable life. And what's the purpose after that? You know, okay, so we're more comfortable here, but are we really doing anything? You know, and so then that just takes the questions and they branch off into more and more questions. And now I'm to the point, it's like, we don't even know who we are, what we are, where we are, how we got here. You know, we don't know anything. And so the foundation.
Yeah, we got more questions than we have.
Yes.
More questions than we have time to look into. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, not only is the foundation cracked, it's like completely shattered. It does not exist. We are literally floating through this place trying to figure out what's the next step. So, but it changed my life. Like I said, the best thing besides taking my desire for alcohol, taking that away, which was such a blessing, because I'm not that person. If something works for me, I don't quit. Seriously. And
Yeah.
the anxiety, having the anxiety taken from me, oh my gosh. That's the only way I would admit, because I'm completely honest. If I still lived in anxiety at this point, I would be completely useless. I would be a ball, in my room, crying, terrified of everything. And now I'm just like, it's all a joke. There's nothing to fear. At least that's my experience. Now, caveat, when things happen around you, I do believe that my theory is that we're in a physical reality with a digital overlay. So like all the stuff we see on the news and stuff, I can't prove that. I'm not there. And so I just don't even bother. I don't watch that stuff anymore. But what's real to me is when something happens to my family or my friends, or if I see someone on the street that needs help, those are real things to me. That's real.
Yeah.
So to say everything's fake, you can't just say that in an all-encompassing term, and I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of saying that. But the whole experience just made me see the world differently. And I know there's so many people out there that have had similar experiences, and it fascinates me. Speaking of comments, I was watching a spiritual awakening video after this happened, like a year or two afterwards. And I was reading the comments, and somebody said, FYI, don't go in public. Don't go out in public for about 6 months until your spiritual awakening's over. And I'm like, wish I had known that. Wish you had given me that information, 3 years ago. But it's all good now, But it's true, because what is the term? You feel, what is it, 6 foot and bulletproof kind of? It's like nothing can harm you.
Mm-hmm.
Literally. I mean, I wasn't jumping off of cliffs or anything, and I wasn't going out and like starting any kind of revolution, but I literally was like, I don't care. You can't do anything to me, because whatever I just experienced was the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced in my life. So, I mean, I guess it's it was a catalyst for me. And like I said, I was really disappointed that I was back here. This world can be a beautiful place, but they just inundate us with such negative information all the time. And like I've told you, and I told Sandy this too, I am a glass half empty girl. So it's really hard for me to look at things as half full, but I can still see beauty in this world. And I think that with positive intention, honest, integral, let's do things from the heart. Let's not try to hurt people just because we can. Situations. It was just such a humbling experience. The whole past 2.5 years, and being in this community has helped me so much. Just seeing all the free thinkers and all the different possibilities has really opened my mind and gotten me out of this compartmentalization. That's my favorite word. But I know I was totally compartmentalized. This is what I was supposed to do with life, because this is how I was raised. And going through that experience was like, no, I don't have to. I just need to be honest and true to those that I love, and true to my friends. And when I say I care, I really care. If I can't, that's one thing that a big thing in my life. I used to feel obligated, when for me, prior to, if someone asks something of me, can you watch my children? And I didn't really want to, but I felt obligated to. And then I would get bitter because they would stay out later or whatever. That's just an example. Now, if someone asks me, can you do this for me? I will tell them, no, I'm sorry, it's just not, or I will say yes, or I will offer extend help to people, but I will let you know if I'm not capable of it, because I don't want to lie. that's one thing that I've never felt comfortable with. But since my change of life experience, I mean, we can call it all sort of different things, but I just try to be so honest with people, and not aggressive, but I just feel like in this world, I feel like so many people are trying to scam others. And not saying that that's always the case, but it's like I have this feeling now, and I can tell, and I listen to it, intuition, and the world says, oh, don't pay attention to your intuition. Well, let me tell you something I learned. If somebody else tells me to do something, I'm the one that has to suffer the consequences. If I go against my intuition, and that's what I tell my children now, that's what I tell especially younger people, I can give you advice all day long, but I'm not the one that's going to have to suffer the consequences. So just know that whatever you do, you are accountable for that. It doesn't matter if I told you to do it. If you do, whatever the case may be.
Right.
So and it's just one of the biggest lessons I've learned through this whole experience. But it was beautiful. To me, it was pure love. It was, I think, probably what we're all trying to, that's the end goal, is to feel that way. And it was amazing. It was beautiful. And I thank God every day for that experience, for changing my life. I'm not a perfect person. Nobody is.
No.
And striving for perfection will make you crazy. I mean, legitimately crazy.
Yeah.
So I just found peace in it all. And I'm just grateful that people want to hear the experience. And, you guys don't really know me, but you're taking a chance on hearing my story, and I'm blessed. I'm grateful. And if it can help someone, that's all I can ask for. And, there's naysayers out there. I told you that, after a guy read it on his channel, this one guy was like, that's the Antichrist spirit. And I'm like, well, didn't it backfire? Because wouldn't the Antichrist prefer me to be a drunk? I mean, I don't really understand the concept of it being a sham.
Yeah, right.
But hey, if it makes you feel better, but I disagree. I didn't even banter. I was just like, you know what? There's so much bait out there to try to make us doubt who we are. And I think that we have a lot more power than we know. And I think it's all just based on intention. And that's kind of the conclusion I've come to with the whole experience. And
yeah. So. Well, I mean, just for me, just the fact that, it got you off drinking and got your anxiety gone. That would be the most amazing part for me, because like I've never really been afflicted with anxiety, but I've had it a couple of times. Like there's been a few times, for some reason, I don't know why, like just randomly, I remember the one time, probably about a year and a half ago, I was just on my way to work. I stopped at a gas station, same gas station I stop at every night before I went into work, So I mean, it was completely familiar surroundings and everything. And I walk up to get my coffee, and I get just my entire body, just like, everything was like, kind of like in the movie where everything's going like, wah, 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 and it's like all,
Yep.
the lights got super bright, and I'm standing there, I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, why is this happening? Like, I know there's nothing weird going on. So I start looking around thinking maybe something was about to happen or something, and nothing. Everybody was just being normal. And like, if I didn't, know what was going on, I could have easily just like flipped out and been like, somebody would have called the paramedics on me or something, what I mean? But I just, for some reason, I was calm about it. And I knew, I'm like, I knew exactly what the feeling was. And it was just anxiety, but it was at like 100 times I'd ever felt it before.
It's awful.
And so like, yeah. And if that's something that you deal with on a regular basis, I couldn't imagine that. And so that being, taken away would have been my biggest takeaway from the experience. But, Mr.
It can
Super's
go
back.
away. Hey,
Hey.
Mr. Super.
There he is. You feeling better? He muted.
Is it working? Or if it's not working, I'll go try the PC.
Hi.
I wanted to try the phone again because I'm more comfortable where I am.
It's working.
Yeah, it's working.
We hear you.
Yeah.
Hi, Sandy.
Hi. I sent you an email somewhere.
Can you
You did?
I did.
can you hear us? All right, Mr. Super.
Nice to feel.
Yeah. I'm glad you're feeling better. Where'd he go? Uh-oh.
Oh, I don't know. He looked like he was trying to talk, but yeah, he was having problems with the sound earlier.
Well, I just wanted to tell you, Becca, that I used to have a panic attack every single time the sun went down.
My
And-
son had that problem too. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to let you know it can go away. Just on its own. Just one day it happens, next minute it doesn't. That's what happened with me. But mine also was probably related to physical stuff, like too much of a hormone being released.
Right.
It still feels the same. It feels exactly the same. It's just different causes. And it's horrible. And I'm sorry if you're going through that.
Oh no, I'm good now. Since that's what I was telling Josh. Since my experience, for 13 years, I mean I worked and I just self-medicated, and then for 2 years I just and I'm going to say this real quick, and I hope that it's okay, but it's kind of along the lines of what you've been dealing with, Sandy. My doctor cut off the only medication that I could use to sleep. For 10 years, I was on this medication and just cold turkey. No, no more. You're not allowed. And
Yeah.
so I was like, okay, well, I don't know how to shut my brain off. And she said, well, how long does it take you to fall asleep? I'm like, an hour to 2 hours without this medication. And she's like, no, you don't. And so she tried me on all this other stuff. And it just, I don't know if some of us are just wired differently. But like LJ was saying on your show the other night, how some medications she has like and it's like an alternate effect. Like she was saying about like ADHD medication and stuff like that, how some people take it because it calms them down versus amps them up, that sort of thing.
If
And
you need it, it calms you down.
but see, for me, like none of that stuff, it always did the opposite of what it was supposed to, except for one medication. And I'm not going to say the name on here, but it was one medication, and I took it for 10 years. I never abused it. I knew that it was the only, because I had to get up and go to work the next morning and support my family. Yeah. I was the breadwinner. I had to, there was no question. And so she just cut me off. And so when I got laid off, I said, yeah, I was like, you know what? Alcohol will work. And I did. That's what I was telling Josh. It was for 2 years straight. I was like, this is a permanent vacation. And I'm surprised my liver still works as much as I drank. But it was all to avoid, I don't know where it really stems from, but the fact that she cut me off when I was like, that is the one thing. And I don't take it during the day. I could take it and I would go to bed and sleep through the night, wake up the next day, get through the day. And then I knew at, 9 o'clock the next night, I would take it. And then I was off to sleep. And it's really frustrating that this is the world we live in. That they give you a Band-Aid and then they rip it off along with the scab and say, you're on your own.
I agree.
And so I'm seeing more and more of that. And I feel like sometimes we're in a torture scenario. There's that glass half empty again. Sorry, Josh. But
That's all right.
But
the truth.
Yes, it is the truth. And it's infuriating because these are the very people that we're supposed to depend on to help us.
Yeah, they don't want to help anymore. They're more concerned about the threats that are being made towards them, their licenses.
Exactly. And I could talk to you for hours. Just you and I. We talked about that. We're put 11 hours aside just for me and you and offline, and we can have a whole field day with this conversation, because I'm on board with you. I'm like, what is this place? You know, it's so corrupt, and
Yeah.
it's torturing people. People need things. But in my
It's not.
situation, no.
It's not torture. What it is it's misguided empathy.
Good point.
So they're so focused on people choosing to misuse our medication
Right.
that they don't consider what they're doing to patients who need these medicines.
Exactly. Exactly. You're 100% correct. They're using a portion of society as a catalyst to, it's like one bad apple ruins the bunch, and it's not fair, because there are people who need certain medications. I fully agree with that. I'm just really blessed because of the experience that I had. And that's what Josh and I were talking about. The only time I get anxiety now is like empathetic anxiety. And Mr. Super and I have talked about this too. But my oldest son, when he has anxiety, I get it again. And I always know when something's wrong with him now, because it's a physical feeling I had. It's so bizarre,
Yeah.
because I don't get it
Wow.
for years. My anxiety was like stuck on a loop.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't really tell you what it was and what was the trigger or the cause, but I was stuck in this perpetual fear that I couldn't get out of it. But then I started questioning things, because I had a procedure done in 2013, and then found out that that procedure was unethical. I'm not going to go into it, but that's part of the 11-hour discussion I'm going to have with you, Sandy. But it made me start questioning things. And the beauty of it, though, is the legislation, I think I'm saying this correctly, that covered that medication, that made it impossible for me to hold that company accountable, is the same legislation that thing that happened in 2020 was covered under. So it caused me to question the very people that I went to for help in 2013, which kept me from taking that step in 2020 that they wanted the whole world to follow. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was able to, and this was before my awakening too. This was just me being a biddy to my family. You know, this is my house. You're going to do what I say. And it kept my loved ones, at least in my nuclear family, from taking that thing in 2020. Because I'm like, look, use me as an example from 2013. And that was just base. You know, that was not anything esoteric. That was no experience, except that I had a bad experience in the medical community. And it made me start questioning everything. So that's my silver lining, is it did keep my loved ones from falling in lockstep with the rest of the world.
Not so much mine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I have extended family, but the ones in my house, they just didn't. They wanted me to shut up, so they were because I wouldn't. I was like, you don't understand. There's no retribution if this doesn't work out. And so it's been an eye-opening experience. The whole thing, all of this, just the GATE program and the medical community and the indoctrination system and all of this. Like, oh my gosh, is this a hellscape? And I know it's not, because there's still hope and God still exists. But some days it makes you think.
I
It doesn't
agree.
seem like it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah. I
my
still have
spiel.
to, yeah, every day, like every once in a while, I'm still amazed, because, you know, like I was thinking, what you said earlier is that you were a glass half empty
Mm-hmm.
type of person,
Mm-hmm.
where I've always been the opposite, you know, kind of the glass half full type of guy up until about 10 years ago or so. I just kind of got like bitter to the world and was like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like the world sucks. People, you know, people, there's no good people in the world. But every once in a while, um, you know, somebody would do something,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and be like, oh wow, there really are good. Like for the one example, like there's this United Dairy Farmers gas station that we drive by every once in a while, and you know, a while back when my kid was little, she was all dressed up and she had this little tiny purse, and she was like maybe 5 years old or whatever, and somebody in the gas station saw her and just thought she was cute, and she was like, oh, what do you got in your purse? And she was like, nothing. And she's like, oh, here, let me. And she reached in and she pulled out all the change out of her purse and put it, you know, and gave it to, you know, my daughter. And so every time we drive by that UDF, I'm like, oh, there's the gas station we were at, and you know, and just puts a big smile on her face, like she remembers it to this day. And you know, it's those kind of moments that every once in a while gets me unjaded and be like, oh well, there's still a few good people out there in the world, but it's becoming few and far between nowadays. But anyway, that's my spiel.
I wanted to mention really
So, Mr.
quickly, you
Super,
said that when you had your out-of-body experience, when you came back, you felt like you were vibrating for
It's
days or for however long?
yeah. The whole thing started with a vibration, like an internal vibration.
Right, but I'm saying like after
Yeah,
the experience, you continue to vibrate.
I did for like about 6 months. I mean, not at that level, but I could still feel it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no, I understand, but like residue of the effect. I think like when it's not like the same for astral projection or even dreaming or whatever. An NDE is like a higher separation from our physical self, and I think that like we get out of sync. That's the vibration that you experience, and I wonder. Like the Bible doesn't really go into it, but like Lazarus was away from his flesh for 3 days, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
I would have liked to have heard his testimony, right?
yeah,
Yes, and you know someone has it. It's just not accessible to us. Correct.
Mr. Super?
Yeah,
oh,
my internet is acting really goofy. So if I miss something that's said or whatever, like it's popping in and out, kind of weird.
yeah, I gotcha. I've dealt with those problems many times. But yeah, I mean, I've always thought that, you know, an out of body experience is kind of like an NDE because, you know, technically, if you're out of your body, you know, it's, you know, as close to, you know, death as you can get, you think. So I
Yeah.
mean, I think they're kind of related
Yeah.
in that aspect at least. So
At first, I thought it was. Well, I still kind of consider it this way. I had to leave my body in order for my body to be reset, basically, because for for me personally, like I told you guys, I'm an all or nothing person. If something works for me, it takes either I had to be forced to give it up or make a conscious decision, and I didn't want to do either. I just wanted I just wanted a buzz. You know, that's it. It was that simple.
yeah,
But um I felt like when I came back into, like, I don't remember coming back into my body. You know, I know people talk about that now after the fact, but at the time I did not want to be in this meat suit anymore. I was like, it's itchy. I don't like it. I want to be free. I want to go wherever I was. And saying that to your family, they're like, should we call somebody? You know, and so I'm just really blessed that they didn't look at me that way, because there's no telling what I would be on today otherwise. But it it was
yeah,
just such a freeing experience. And I really just wanted everybody. I would love for everyone to experience the same thing I experienced, because it changed everything. It changed.
Yeah.
It really did for me personally. Like I said, it was like everything that I was hanging on to, I was able to let go of. I still have a lot of questions. Don't get me wrong. You know, we talk about these things all the time. I have, like you said, I have more questions now than I do have answers. But I'm more confident in the questions than I am concerned with the answers. Some days the answer, I need to know. But it just totally changed my outlook. And then, like what you were saying about your daughter, I do believe that there are people that do renew your faith in humanity. And it's now surprising when you experience it. Like you were saying, like the woman putting the coins in your daughter's purse. It's like, oh, okay. Well, then that can keep me going today. Because I was just ready to just say this whole place is just a landfill and that's all we've got. But yeah, I'm with you though, Josh. It's like there are some days when I'm like, I think, you know, they call in the flash mobs when I go to the grocery store, just so that I can be miserable doing the one task I need to do today. And you make it 10 times longer than it should be. And I told you this, there have been times I've gone out in public and I thought, am I dead? Or are these people just rude? Because, you know, you're like, what the crap? Do I not exist here? You know? But now I just kind of laugh at it. Because I don't know. Anything's possible at this point, you know?
Yeah, right. I mean, what else can you do other than just laugh at it and, you know, look into it and try to figure out what's going on? Because, I mean, there's so much crazy stuff going on in the world nowadays that you just got to question everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and just be prepared to not receive an answer. That's really all.
Yeah, right. or receive a misleading answer or a misguided answer, you know, to try to throw you off the track or something.
Yes. Where's the spin? There's always a spin, and this is it's so insane. But I mean, we're all going to get through this one way or another. But I'm just grateful that you invited me on, Josh, to share my experience, and I hope it helps someone. If not, I hope it at least entertains some people. And it's been a wild ride. Life like I was telling you the other day, and we were talking about this I think in Sandy's chat a few days ago, might have been a week ago. You know, if everybody just wrote down their lives, like if you just journaled everything you could think of, like your memory, like I was told to do, which I haven't completed the task, but I'm working on it. You'll start to see that there's things in your life that just don't make any sense. The world will tell you, hey, it's no big deal. And you're like, I think it kind of was. And you just told me not to pay attention to it, you know? And reflection is a very interesting thing. So I don't know. I think we're all on a journey. It'll be really cool to find out what this was all about when it's all said and done. And if reincarnation is real, I pray this is my last ride. And I would write that in blood. I'm done because this place is crazy. I'm done with the roller coaster. Thank you very much. But yeah, that's kind of where I've come to. But speaking of anxiety, not that you were, but to circle back, to me, I've just kind of come to the conclusion that it's an alarm system. And if you don't regularly receive anxiety and you receive it, to me, that's like your spirit saying something's off. Something's really, really wrong. And whatever situation you're in, get out of. That's just kind of how I use it now because I'm not stuck on the loop anymore. So,
yeah, well, that's kind of what I was thinking when I was in the gas station, because like I said, it was very familiar. I'd been in that gas station every day, you know, or 5 days a week, for like 2 years, you know, getting out and getting coffee or whatever. And so like when it happened, I'm like, what? And so I started looking around thinking that maybe there was like some guys behind, you know, getting ready to, you know, rob the place or something. You know what I mean? Like honestly, that's I mean, I was just thinking, because I mean, there was no other reason at all for me to be like that, high strung
Yeah.
instantly. It was like the minute I opened the door and walked in, like I was fine in the parking lot up to the door. And so, yeah, so I kind of thought that same thing, but, yeah, but luckily nothing happened. And I didn't do anything different. I just stood there and waited for my coffee and went up and paid. And by the time I got, out of there and halfway to work, it was pretty much gone.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it was weird.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad that you made it
But
through
yeah, but
whatever
thank you
it
for coming
was.
on.
No, it was my pleasure.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, like I could hear that story, over and over again, and I get something different out of it every time. So I'm sure some people in the chat, and listening, got something from it too.
I hope
I know
so.
I seen a couple of comments about. I think Pushin said something about that you're good. You did good telling your story, and
Oh, well, thank you.
Joe King too. So
I
yeah,
appreciate that.
we definitely people definitely did like it. So so then that brings me to the next question, is something that you sent me the other day, that you wanted to talk about, that I had never really looked into. Like I had heard about it, briefly
Mm-hmm.
one time, maybe a year ago,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the sun simulation theory.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, is that what it's called?
Yeah, like from what I understand, there are patents out there that there is a sun simulator, and I've never seen two suns in the sky, but this white sun that we're under is, me personally, it feels like a tanning bed, and I've only been in a tanning bed like twice, 20 years ago, and that's what I feel when we're doing yard work and things of that nature. So I was just wondering what your thoughts are on the Sun Simulator. Like, can we trust the patents that we have access to? We've talked about this, like declassified documents. Is that controlled opposition? Is that just to sway us? Or do these things really exist? And if they really exist, then what are we? Is that part of the digital overlay? Is this part of the Great Deception? Um, I mean, I was just curious about what your thoughts on it were, because I think I told you Extreme Reality Check she was a big channel on YouTube before the purge, and she would do these really long videos. And I remember her talking about the Sun Simulator. I don't know if it was as far back as 5 years, but um, it just, if those things are legit, then man, we are in the Great Deception, because everything is a lie. If
Uh-huh.
But I was just wondering what you thought about it.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, my thoughts about it, like, I guess, like I said, I seen the video where it had the sun, and they zoomed in on it, and it looked like it was all pixelated,
Mm-hmm.
like it was just something fake or whatever. And when I first seen that, like, I kind of just like brushed it off and was like, oh, that's interesting, but never really like gave it too much credence. But as we were talking about it just now, it reminded
Mm-hmm.
me of um, some videos that I got probably within the last year or so. Like I've been like, when I get to work, I pull out
Mm-hmm.
like if it's like something cool in the sky, or a sunset
Mm-hmm.
or weird clouds or whatever, I'll pull out my phone and do a little video. And this one time
Mm-hmm.
I was driving into work, and so when I'm going to work, I'm heading east. I go straight east, so like the sun's always setting behind me when I'm going into work. And
Right.
and then when I get into the parking lot, I always park facing west. So like I'm start park facing towards the sunset, and you can just barely see it going down usually.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I'm looking at it, and I can see the sun right at the horizon going down. But then I look back behind me to the east, and there's clouds everywhere. But there, it looks like, I mean, the eastern sky was lit up. Like it looked like there was like a light source. Uh-oh, we lost Rebecca. But hopefully
Oh
she'll
no.
get back in here. Yeah. But oh, there she goes. All right, can you hear us?
Welcome back.
Sorry about that. So sorry.
Nope, no problem. Yeah,
Okay.
that happens.
Okay.
No, not a problem.
You were saying?
But anyway, yeah. So I can see the sun setting, over the horizon in the west, and I look back, and there's like there's a big cloud, but it looks like there's a light behind it, like there's something, and I'm thinking, like what's going on? Like it honestly looked like there was another light source behind the cloud,
Mm-hmm.
opposite side of the sky from where the sun's going down.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I mean, I'll have to find that video and see, because I kept going back and forth, and like you could probably hear me, in my voice, like kind of freaking out, like what's going on. So I don't know. I mean, I watched that video you
Mm-hmm.
sent, and the people had the pictures of like the two suns, or you could actually see the sun, and then you turn the camera back to the other direction, and you could see the sun over there, or something that looked like the sun. So so I don't know. I guess I have some more digging into that, because I kind of blew it off at first, but yeah, I don't know now. It's definitely an interesting concept.
Absolutely. It's crazy.
In what you found, have you found like any explanation as to why people think this has happened, or why we have this simulated sun, or if it's something in addition to the, like, is the sun that we have real, that we we're taught growing up? Is that real, and then the simulators for something else, or you got anything like that you have an opinion on?
Oh, I have theories. But well, first, is Sandy still here?
I am.
Are you busy?
Sandy is here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering, what are your thoughts on the sun simulator? Do you think it's real? Do you think it's controlled op? Or, I mean, do you think it's possible? And I'm just curious.
Yeah, I do think it's possible. I mean, I've seen lots of videos where there's like that weird pattern, those little round things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I do think it's possible. I mean, the sun is definitely
different.
So hot.
Yep.
So hot.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember it like that at all.
I don't either.
So I could totally see, I could totally see it being an issue, it being a thing.
Yeah. And what would be the purpose? That, I mean, I know that there's a lot of, and I don't mean to derail the conversation, but I have a lot of questions. Like, are we just literally living in a time where we are supposed to be deceived by everything? You know what I mean? That's because I know you guys have seen this. We live on a mountain in the middle of the South. My family does. We see the sunrise and we see the sunset. And I know you guys have seen it too. It's the yellow-orange color when it comes up and when it sets. But at some point in the sky, it's no longer, it's white. And this is something that I wanted to bring up is, have you guys noticed that when the white sun is in the sky, it to me, it looks like the old Windows screensaver from the early 2000s. Because all I did was data entry in the early 2000s, and everything was Windows based. And Josh, I have a bone to pick with that Gates guy. But anyways, the sky to me now, when the sun is out and it's hot and there's no cloud coverage, like the heat wave we've been seeing for the past, how long has it been now? Weeks. We've had some intermittent rain, but the sky, everything looks different. To me, it reminds me of the old screensavers, because I remember in the early 2000s looking at the computer saying, this is so fake. Because in my memory, when the sun was out, everything had a little yellow tint to it. And it wasn't as brutal as it is today.
Yep, me too.
Yep. Yeah. So it's pretty brutal.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Mr. Super, what are your thoughts on the sun simulator? We lost you right before we started talking about that. Do you have any idea? You know what we're talking
Yeah,
about?
my internet connection was so bad. It seems better on the PC, right? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh
That's
yeah, yeah.
awesome. Oh
Perfect.
man, I feel like I'm welcome aboard now. I got so sick. I'm sorry I missed the beginning of the stream. I'm just kind of pulling myself together. I tried to get some rest before the stream. That didn't work out. So yeah, I'm kind of up to speed on what we're talking about with the sun simulator. And for anybody that thinks that's just wild speculation and we're all insane or whatever, Bausch and Lomb has the patents and has since like the 60s.
That's wild.
Wow.
So I mean that this has been their intent. And then like with the storms that we're going through now, like with Texas and again in the Carolinas and that sort of thing, these jackwagons have told us blatantly we want to control the weather by 2025, and here we are in 2025, and people are acting like we're the crazy ones.
Right.
Come on, man. If you look into the one in Texas, it really looks like, and I'm not saying this is exactly what happened, but it looks like there was an event a couple days earlier where people were hearing like violent explosions in the middle of the Gulf, and then
Oh
a
gosh.
tropical storm started in the middle of the Gulf, which is kind of out of season, and then it moved directly in like a beeline straight up to where it stayed in Texas. And a few channels, RFB2 in particular, have been showing like the Doppler radar activity during these storms and whatnot. And in addition to them lighting up and like having evidence that they're steering storms, this last round, all the Doppler radars across the country were also shooting out like these red beams. You could only call lasers, right? From the overhead view.
Uh-huh.
And let's not forget, like over 400 people were washed off a mountain, presumed dead in Texas. We look at these numbers and like we're supposed to forget all this stuff the next day. Like this just happened and people will forget about it by next week. It's so sad.
Yes.
People have
It
forgotten about
is.
La Palma. People have forgotten about Paradise.
Yeah.
People have forgotten about Palestine, Ohio.
Asheville was just last year.
It's so sad. So sad.
It is. It
And
really
we talk
is.
about this BS they pulled on us in 2020. I just finally saw some numbers on it. Like, I'm not forgetting about it, but I'm not continuously researching it, but I'm still angry about it, right? And I just saw
Absolutely.
numbers of like 338,000 people that lost their lives in the United States alone since that. And that's not the summary of it. That's what's happened so far. There's a lot of people walking around that still played that roulette game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So a little off topic, but I do believe that the sun simulator is a real thing. I first started experiencing a big shift in the sun. It would be hard for me to pin down a year, but let me try real quick here. 2020, 2010. I would say probably 2008, 2009, somewhere in that period of time. I had a white roof on my previous home that was in perfect condition. I had been up there doing maintenance. All the shingles were still flexible. They were all laying flat. There was no signs of deterioration. I remember thinking to myself, whatever else goes wrong with this house, which it was in great shape. It's not like I was waiting for the next thing to fail, but I'm like, at least I don't have to worry about this roof because it's like still pliable. It's still viable. It's, this is going to be good for a long time. The very next year I went up to work on something like a satellite dish wire or whatever. And when I first put a foot on the roof, it crumbled and fell away like saltine crackers. I mean, just the weight of my foot left a missing spot for shingles. I'm like, oh my God, dude, now I got to replace my roof. So in 1 year's time, it went from being viable, soft, perfect, looking like it would go another 20 years to absolutely needing to be replaced that summer.
That is crazy. What year did you say that was,
Wow.
Mr. Super?
My best guess, 2008, 2009.
Yeah. It's crazy. I don't understand why. I just think these conversations need to be had. I do. Because the joke's on us, it seems, but not us, because we're asking questions and we're saying something's not right and we're not forgetting. Like you said, no, we haven't forgotten, but they're banking on you forgetting. They're banking on all of us not paying attention.
Right.
Isn't that seems to be the end goal? Is okay. Well, yeah. Never mind.
Part of it, like they want our forgiveness just through our forgetting.
I know, right? There's such a
Isn't
big
that
difference
stupid?
in the two. Yes, it's
Right?
crazy. And then, like in the declassified documents and the patents, and there's a ton of people doing all kinds of research. But then my question is, well, why would they let us have it? Why would they give us the evidence? You know, that's kind of where I go.
I think they're just teasing
You
us.
think so?
They're just throwing it in our face, you know, like
the damage is done.
because there's nothing we can do about it. Yeah.
It's mocking and it's karma.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And then you try to show it to someone and they're like, that's not possible. This is your government's document. Hello?
Yeah. Why do we always have to be the crazy ones when they put out the truth right in plain sight? Like, even you just take the name Moderna, modify RNA. How does that seem like a good idea to anybody? I'm just asking the question. How do you look at that and you go, yeah, that sounds like a good plan, sir?
Never. No idea. Ridiculous.
Dude, come on, man. But we're at that point where people are so uncomfortable to think for themselves that they just rather not, because that takes responsibility. When you think for yourself and something goes wrong, you got to go, damn, I guess I made a bad decision.
Yep.
But when you're just following the crowd and the whole crowd makes a stupid decision, you're just a lemming.
Well, you and I talked about this too. Well, when there's a large portion of society that doesn't have an inner monologue, then they're not really thinking for themselves. They're just on autopilot. And so I'd rather not go in with, the majority rules doesn't work for me anymore, because the majority evidently is, like you said, walking off a cliff, and I'll pass.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, I mean, the whole lemmings thing is a myth, but it's a good analogy, Even lemmings aren't stupid enough to follow each other off a cliff. Maybe we are the only ones that are that stupid.
But then you throw controlled opposition into the mix, and it just makes everything so much dirtier. It's like, okay, so is there any truth to be had anymore? Or did it ever exist to begin with? See, that's where I go. What is this mess?
Yeah, I think it's all about muddying the water, so it's really hard. They've got you to the point now where you think there might be more than one truth. So you give up on looking for truth because there could be more than one. Well, what's the point, right?
Yeah.
What's your truth? What's your truth? What's your truth? Everybody's truth is different. Dude, there's really only one truth. The rest are muddy water.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. That's what.
Yeah, I've never believed in that. Your truth and my truth.
A creator had to exist. Whether that, you're right. Your truth, my truth. Right? Who wins? Right? There had to be a creator, whether he's still actively involved or whatnot. There had to be truth. There had to be these foundations in place. What has happened to them since is up to wild speculation.
Yep.
But I don't think that this place could come into organized existence without all of those things being in place. I know too much about intelligent design, and nothing happens that's sophisticated without being thought first. I have no examples of that, of anything else.
No examples of anything else of what?
No examples of anything just popping into existence that is an intelligent design that just happened on its own.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Without a creator or an engineer or a thought first.
And see, that's what's so infuriating about all this genetic manipulation. So are you saying, not you, but the world is saying that our creator, the Almighty, was, created us and we're imperfect, and that we need man to try to rectify the issues, But in actuality, it's just like the Hegelian dialectic. They caused the problem to begin with. It wasn't. You get what I'm saying?
Isn't it funny that the ones that are doing all of that would tell you that God doesn't exist? But I've said that
exactly.
since I first heard about GMOs, and then the whole fight about GMOs. They turned it from we don't want GMOs to they want labeling on GMOs. We don't want to label our GMOs. It's not whether or not they're fucking labeled. We don't want that shit.
Exactly. Or we could go even further, talk about, like all this stuff about taking the colors and the dyes and the chemicals out of I'm more concerned about mRNA and the meat. Thank you very much. But we're not talking about that. We're going to adjust everything at the gene level. But now we're gonna, Congress or whoever is gonna, you have all these people saying, oh, we need to take the dyes. Well, that damage is done. And although it is bad, we've got bigger problems now because they're trying to genetically modify everything.
Right. And
That's
so what
my
happens?
concern.
What happens to karma when you offer it to people and they turn it down, and then you offer them donuts and lap dances and beers, and they still turn it down, and then you put it into mosquitoes and you spray it in the skies and put it in the water. Well, you've taken choice out of the equation. Now you're forcing it down people's throats. What happens to the karma for that?
Exactly.
Where's the karma? Where
It's
is the accountability for all of that?
exactly. And there's no longer consent at that point. We are being poisoned just by breathing the very air that's outside. That's what I tell everybody. It's like you would literally have to live in a terrarium, a greenhouse that you built, take hundreds of thousands of dollars just to protect yourself from the very air that we breathe. That was fine to begin with, but somebody else decided to jack it up so that we could be dependent on them. It's just this vicious cycle. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I hate to interrupt, but I have to go because I have to make a video clip and I can't do it while I'm here because I can't listen. It's for the show.
Okay, no
There's
problem.
only a half hour. You guys still have a half hour, but I can even move it up a little bit if you guys need time. Just let me know. But right now, it's set
Okay,
for
yeah,
a half
no,
hour from now.
I'd say half hour should be good. Okay, cool.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Thank you for having me on, Josh. And I know I promised I'd be here. I'm sorry, Rebecca. I really would stay if I could.
No, I understand. I'm so glad that you did. I know that Saturday nights are tight for you anyways. Thank you so much for your support. And thank you for being my friend. We're Golden Girls now. I appreciate it.
You never have to call me. You never have to thank me for being your friend.
Golden Girls.
But now that she said that, girl, that's your ringtone because I have that on my phone.
Well, pencil me in sometime when you're free. Thank you so much, Sandy, for being here with me and holding my hand. I'm so blessed to have you. Thank you so much.
And you are my Golden Girls, just for the record.
Aww. I'll have to make that your ringtone too, Mr. Super. All right, I'll see you guys very soon. It is an open panel. Feel free to hop on.
Thanks, Sandy.
Cool. All right.
I sent you guys the links. You guys have emails.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks,
all right,
Sandy.
Cool.
All right. I'll see you soon.
Talk to you soon.
All right.
Yep.
Talk to you soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.
See ya.
See ya.
She's
so real quick before I forget,
we are all weirdos.
We're all weirdos. We like our weirdness.
Yes.
But
embrace your weird. Yeah.
But
absolutely.
Real quick, when Mr. Super jumped back on, he came back on with his logo, and it reminded me, like I told you guys that I went and seen Superman last night with my kid, and I just thought it was funny because probably like 3 or 4 different times throughout that movie, they referred to the yellow sun, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And so I asked my buddy about it last night, who's been into comics, and he's like, oh yeah, the comics always just say the yellow sun, but why would our comic books, even if they're 50, 60 years old, why would the yellow sun on Earth bother Superman? You know what I mean? It's just kind of weird if we never had the yellow sun, if it's been a white sun for us. And then the other weird thing about that movie was more on like a Mandela. There was one point where he was getting roughed up by the bad guy or whatever, and got like punched in the stomach, and he fell down, and something started coming out of his mouth, just like a whole bunch. And what it looked like was, it looked exactly like those long, skinny worms
Oh, gross.
that Sandy covered on her show the other night, that nobody had ever heard of before. Like a weird parasitic worm that gets in people or whatever. And it just looked exactly like that. It was my first thought. And I'm like, man, that's weird too. So then the whole rest of the movie, I wasn't paying attention to the plot. I'm looking for Mandela effects or other stuff, but it was still fun. So I just thought it was interesting. I'd share with that,
That's kind of funny. That ties in a little bit with our backstage conversation about the blue lights and
Yep.
the show The Strain. There was things swimming around in people's light, and I mean it's funny, like these up in small doses where everything like ties back together like that. It's beyond uncanny to
Mm-hmm. I
me.
agree.
Yeah, especially within just a couple of days, like, I
So,
mean, what are the chances that, she covered that, and then I see it 2 days later in a movie? But anyway,
that's what I'm saying. It just
go
comes
ahead.
in such small little circles so that you pick up the interrelations between the two. So I do have two other things to say about the sun thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
this happened for a brief period of time about 6 months ago or something like that. People started seeing double shadows outside. I don't know if you guys caught it. Like it came and went. You can still like do searches for double sun shadows and that sort of thing. But like, imagine seeing a telephone pole and seeing two distinct shadows in different directions. That certainly indicates two light sources, whether they're both natural, both artificial, one of each. It doesn't matter. But certainly to see two shadows like that was a big thing for a short period of time. And then here in the last couple of months, the last 2 or 3 months, people have seen the sun setting, like to the west, and the moon kind of directly above them, and then a third body, which is like a lit orange ball. So I mean, they pan the camera over, and they're like, clearly that's where the sun's setting, and they're like, there's no doubt, and they go, okay, if that's the sun, one video move, they this orange ball, and they go, so then what is that thing? That doesn't look
Yeah,
like a
right.
sun simulator. Like I've seen like the hexagon patterns, I've seen them in the middle of the sun simulators. I've seen that like mirror what you're seeing in the sky, so it takes away any doubt, that sort of thing. But this thing that I'm seeing in the sky looks like something completely different. But we do have to remember, like when there's eclipses and they tell us it's the moon passing in front of the sun, half the world is out there filming it. You never see the moon approaching the sun. There's like dark bodies up there that block our view, but it's not what they're telling us. It's not the moon, something else, And if you look back that up in the old mythologies, they're given names, Rahu and Ketu, for the dark bodies that cause eclipses. So there's an awful lot of strangeness in the sky.
Yes, there definitely is that, for sure.
Absolutely. When was it? Was it a almost 18 months ago when I'm here in the deep south of the U.S. and we saw the quote unquote Northern Lights? I'm 1,100 feet above sea level on this mountain. We were at the top of this mountain and the sky was red. And my husband was stationed in Alaska, so he's seen the Northern Lights. He looked at the sky, and my husband is so not on board with any of this stuff, and he said, that's not the Northern Lights. And I'm like, yeah, that's like Stranger Things. That's what we're saying. It was completely red. It was like blood red. It was crazy. But right before then, I was looking off the porch a few nights prior to, and I could see what looked like strobe lights in the clouds, but there was no light source, right? So I immediately think DARPA, right? They're testing the waters with something. That's where I go.
Mm-hmm.
I could be completely wrong, but it's my understanding that during the quote unquote northern lights or whatever the crap we saw, is they were running some kind of tests. But people, and that's what we were talking about backstage yesterday, is everything that's hidden is being exposed. It's just we have to do the legwork to find out this information, unless it's controlled off. And that's kind of where, like with the Mandela effect, I'm like, well, what's inserted history and what's alternate history, right? So we rope in AI. Where is AI? How is AI manipulating everything? Not just what we see on our phones or our laptops or TVs, but in this world that we live in anyway. Already. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so it's all the information's out there. The question is, do we believe it or not? You know? And it does feel like I feel like we are in the Great Deception. Whether this has happened multiple times and history's been rewritten for us to avoid seeing it, or this is a one and done situation. But whatever it is, the powers that be are putting a lot of effort into deception more than anything else, and attack on memory. And I think that's where a lot of this is. That's my theory. My running theory is that we are being beta tested like almost every day now. Like you were talking about. Like, didn't they just come out and say that weather modification is a real thing? I'm like, okay, so we've had congressional hearings on UAPs, and now they're saying weather manipulate. So I love our community, but I'm like, so you're saying we're right now? You know what I mean? I'm like, what? We should be millionaires at this point. We've already won the lottery.
We never get the kudos, man.
No.
How can we be right 98% of the time and nobody ever comes back and says, sorry, we were wrong. You guys were right again.
Exactly.
Thanks. We'll start listening now.
Yep.
We never get the kudos, man.
No, and it's like 10 years ago, that was swamp gas. You were crazy. No,
right.
Yeah, right.
And now they're like,
nobody very, very far south of Alaska saw the Northern Lights. It was pretty common to see them here from Michigan. Now they see them from frickin' Australia.
Exactly. That does not make any sense. Not based on what we've been told it's based on. And you can interpret for me, Mr. Super, but it doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense. And so my goal these days is trying to figure out the angle. That's really it. Not necessarily the end, because I guess we'll see. But how can you're saying we're right, but it took some.
But not directly.
No.
Not like looking us in the eye and saying, hey, you guys were right again.
No,
that'd be nice to see one time,
It's like the movie Men in Black.
I want that on a t-shirt. If you ever want to give me something like for a birthday present or something like that, I want a t-shirt that says, make this make sense.
Exactly. Or told you so. Told you so. Here's your sign, whatever, and or a face palm. It's like, give me a break, and so it's so crazy. I'll have somebody call me and say, oh, did you hear the weather? I've been telling you that for like 6 years. But no, I don't remember.
It to me like you came up with this as a fresh idea. I've been beating you over the head with it for
years. Exactly. And then the mainstream validates, and everybody's like, "Oh, they're doing it to help us." Okay, then so why are the deserts still dry? That doesn't make any sense to me. But you're gonna Anyhow, it's a mute point. But yes, told you so. Told you. But they don't remember that. It's okay. It's all good.
Nothing to see here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
it's just a big cycle of deception that they've been feeding us. Like you were asking, you think it's a one and done type of thing, or I think this has been going on. Government's been lying to us. People in power with money that run the world have been doing it for hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's anything new. We're just, we've just gotten to a point that some of us are starting to see it and realize it, and now we're digging into it. But yeah, I definitely don't think it's a one and done.
In the
Well,
chat, Level said,
So.
I've been yelling wolf since 1999.
what?
I freaking love it.
Is that long?
That's hilarious.
Really? Oh my gosh. Well, see, and see, here's the thing. Like, I was thinking about this too. So, should we have just really been reading the Inquirer in the 90s when they told us it was all like Men in Black? They got all their information from the Inquirer. It's like maybe that's what we
I
should have
loved the
done.
Inquirer
I
when I
did
was a kid.
too. Yeah. All those creepy stories, but I don't. But then you think about manifestation. Yeah, we've had this discussion, like you were saying about the wormy tentacle things, which I can't stand. It's
Mm-hmm.
it. Do they want us to focus on it? Because if we focus on it, can we bring it to life? You get what I'm saying? It's like, because there are so many things that pop culture takes and it explodes, and the next thing we know, oh, this is a reality. Well, are we playing a role in that? Do you get what I'm saying? Like the power of manifestation. I don't know. It's questionable.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They drop big bombs. They drop big bombs in such a way that people take it like a comedy relief. Like Lady Gaga. Oh my God. Not even a lady, but that's another
Right.
thing. Came out years ago and said, we're birthing a new species.
Oh yeah.
Remember?
Yep. That's so gross, but I remember. Yep.
And Geordie
No,
Rose
I don't
ran
remember
off the
that.
stage and said, "Well, we finished everything I needed to do with quantum computing, so I'm going to go off and build robots that are going to be indistinguishable from humans." At a time, they're telling us that we're overpopulated, got to kill you guys off, but we're going to make mechanical versions of you.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah. Well, that
How
goes
does
back
somebody
to
just take that? Like, that's funny. That's like to put a laugh track in over it, and then everybody just moves on. It's again, man. It's counting on the goldfish mentality. 5 minute or 5 second attention span. Everything's just funny.
yeah.
Everything's a 3-word chant. Build back better. Big beautiful bill. Yes,
Mhm.
we can. Kiss my ass is mine. So.
Well, like we were talking about yesterday, the movie Idiocracy is 100% where we're headed, because just communication alone has been so dumbed down. That just on base
Oh yeah,
level,
we've
that's
reached that 5 years
yeah.
ago, I think.
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
And so I really do wonder if we're playing a role in this, directly or indirectly, because I think I don't know, but I do know that we can manifest things, not necessarily like, I won $1 million, so here we go, but it's okay. Like when my children were little, and I would never use my children as an excuse to call out of work unless they were really sick, because it never failed. If I called out and said, I just really need a day to myself, I'm not feeling great, the next day I would be sick. You know what I mean? So it's like, so how much power is in the tongue? The Bible tells us that the power of life and death itself is in the tongue. Maybe it's not figurative, it is metaphorical in a sense, because you can break someone's heart with your words, but what if we can really make crap happen with our thoughts and our words, and that's kind of going off in a different direction, but I just wonder how much they want us to focus on things, especially in movies and in books and all of these. Like, I think about the 90s, I read Stephen King all the time, but I'm telling you, I do not want any of that stuff to come to fruition. Like, that's crazy talk, you know? But we were inundated with horror films and all of these things and a lot of bloodlust. And it's like, I really don't think I want to be a part of whatever this is. You know what I mean? And so I just wonder how, and Joe Martinez has talked about the power of, you know, are we co-creators in this reality? And I'm starting to wonder if there's more truth in that than we realize, you know? And then so we see all these things that the world says, focus on this, focus on this, focus on this. And we focus on it. And then are we helping these oligarchs get to where they want to be? Do you get what I'm saying? Just by intention?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just a thought.
Yeah.
These are
I'm
the
real
things
careful with drawing the line between co-creating and manifesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think we can be creators or co-creators. I just don't think we're qualified. Like, I think you would have to know everything to be the creator, because you don't know what the consequences would be otherwise. It'd be a mess if everybody was co-creators. This place would already have ended.
But do you think
manifestation, bringing about the things that you need in your life, maybe altering the things that like you, I don't think like you could manifest something outside of your reach or range.
Yeah. But as a collective, if we all just prayed collectively, because what does the Bible say? Where two or three are gathered, two or more are gathered.
Oh yeah, I certainly believe we amplify together. Absolutely,
right.
No
So
doubt about it. Yeah.
if we had enough people pray for just peace, or just for all the stupidity to just end. If there was enough requests to God Himself, could we
Some
be the
religions
change?
like Taoism suggest exactly that if enough people focus on a thing, it just gets done. But the Bible teaches just the opposite. It says you will do greater than I.
Yeah.
And it also says that you have the power to move a mountain or a tree or whatnot. And I was just telling my sister the other day, like, I truly believe that. Like, I have a tree here that my mother was attached to. She got it as, a sapling. And she frankly planted it closer than I ever would have to our porch, because I realized it was a silver maple and it was going to get huge. Well, I couldn't take the tree out while she was alive, and then it got too big by the time she was gone. And I've often thought, I probably ought to just wish that tree to move in the corner of the yard. And I was telling my sister the other day, if I did that and it happened, your memory of that tree would be always that it was in the corner. And if I told you it used to be up here by the porch where it's always bothered me because it was too close to the porch, you'd tell me I was crazy. It just no, it was always in the back. I remember it. You'd have anchor memories of why. Like, I had photographs by it when it was first planted in that corner. Like, it's you would be the only one that recognized that change. If you moved a mountain or a tree, everybody else, they're not going to clap and bravo and I guess you're right and I'll try it too. They're gonna remember it the way it is, and that kind of like plays into the Mandela effect.
Yep. Well, guys, I think we just got over 2 hours. I don't mean to cut. I know we could sit here and talk for another 2 hours, but Sandy's probably starting up in about 10, or scheduled to start up in about 10 minutes, and I gotta go take care of the dog real quick because her shows last a while, so I want to be there. But thank you guys both for coming on. It's so much fun talking to you, both of you. You guys are the best, and in the chat too, everybody that came and listened. We were sitting at around 18, 19 people almost the entire night. So
awesome.
Yeah, so it was awesome. A good conversation. You guys got anything you want to say on the way out?
Yeah, we have somebody in the chat that I'm not familiar with. Level seems to be very active in the chat, and I really don't know you. So, Level, it's very nice to meet you, and all you other weirdos that I recognize. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I believe Level is also Level Plane Productions. I believe, I'm not sure, but yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. But I do think But speaking of which, I'm going to do a quick shout out.
Can I say something just real quick to end on?
Yeah, sure.
So we're all used to hearing the Mandela effect. Nobody likes the name. We all look at it like it's the quantum effect or a quantum shift or something like that would be a better name for it. But when we first really started digging into it, something popped up that deserves another look. It's a mandala. It's spelled a little bit different, ALA,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a witch's
Mm-hmm.
prayer circle. It's like a coven ceremonial thing. And Brian Savely uncovered a mandala that was built in a public park, and it has a seat for forgetting. And there's a post that's like there's four corner posts or whatever around this seat or whatever, and it looks like I don't know if you guys saw the movie The Devil's Advocate, where all these
Oh
spiritual
yeah.
beings are like all tangled
Mm-hmm.
up together in a mess and whatever. So
Yep.
these posts are like that, and I swear it looks so real to me. Like I think if you chip through, it's like a black tar frozen in a moment of time, and screaming faces coming out of it and whatnot. And I really,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, like my soul tells me, if you took a hammer and you broke that, you'd find that that's not just a sculpture in that shape. It's actually what it looks like it is. If that makes any sense to you. But anyway, the mandalas,
Mm-hmm.
they're witches' prayer circles. Like this is a spiritual war, and the ones we're
Mm-hmm.
fighting against are working in unison while we're all scrambling independently.
Yep.
Maybe we need to learn to work together. I'm not suggesting we do mandalas. I'm suggesting that we look more into what their stupid practices are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And why would you
Excellent.
celebrate a seat of remembering and forgetting? Just give that a thought for a minute. Like they want us to forget all of the
Yep.
shit they've done. I'm not going to forget. I'm
No, it
not
all
going
Yeah.
goes back to memory. Memory is this war that we're in, the spiritual battle, I think is 100% based on memory. I absolutely agree with you. And that's what I came back with from my event.
right.
Memories are freaking important. Write them down. Tell somebody.
Yeah.
Document it best you can. But thank you, Josh,
Amen.
for having me. I really appreciate it. You guys have become really important to me. Really
Yep.
great friends, and I'm blessed to have you. Thank you so much, and thank you to the chat for being here.
Yep. You're welcome anytime you want to come back
Sure
and
feel the same.
talk
Go ahead,
about
Josh.
anything. Yeah, I was just saying, welcome back. But well, you too,
Let's shout them out.
Mr. Super. You're always welcome. So, yep. So Mr. Super was the first in the chat, but his comment disappeared. And we got Propagate This Light.
Days ago.
Of course, Rebecca, Elephino345. We got Little Cam 51, B, Julie, Pushing Button 62, Joe King Explores the Realm. Red Storm was here. Jackie McCarran, Stinky N, Noel. I wish there was some way that you could just like combine all these. Mr. Super was in the chat. LJ made it for a little bit. I don't know if she's still here, just lurking.
She's here. I
She's
saw
here.
her
Okay, yeah.
recently.
If you okay, yeah. If you haven't said anything in the chat, say hi while I'm scrolling down, and I'll get you at the end. Richard Minnick was here.
Joe
I've
Martinez
seen
was
Joe
here.
Martinez
Yes.
was here also. Yeah. Bit of Venom
Pushing
was
button
here.
62.
LJ Pushing Button 62. Yeah, he's always active in the chat. We appreciate him. I see him all over the
Absolutely.
place.
He's a
So yeah,
staple.
he seems like a
He
good guy.
is.
Yeah.
I wonder if you guys ever sleep. I'm like, I see you guys all the time. I'm like, how do you do that? Tell me your trick.
Yeah, I sleep, but I don't sleep very good.
Yep.
Yeah, we got Dark Knight Gnome
Yeah.
D. Looks like we're getting to him. So unless we got some new people at the end, I think that's about it. So, Parody Mike made it in too. Artsy909, John
Oh,
Nada.
and Sandy.
Yes.
Oh, and Sandy. Yeah, how can we forget Sandy? Yeah, of course, Sandy.
I didn't forget
thanks
her.
again. You didn't forget her. Now she's gonna be mad at me again for forgetting her. I didn't even get to tell my story about what happened on her last stream that I was on when I went to bed.
That's right. That was important.
Maybe I'll. Yeah, maybe I'll tell it on her show.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, you totally
she's listening
should.
to remind me.
That's probably the better place.
But she's
for
not
it
gonna
anyway.
believe me anyway.
Yes,
Yeah.
she will.
Yeah, right. So yep, it looks like that is everybody. Yeah, LJ popped back in. All right. So with that, thanks again for being here. We're gonna go out on a Mr. Super song, if you don't mind.
Oh yay!
And and I just put the
super cool.
Yeah, he is cool. Yeah, super cool. Exactly. So. All right. So I just put the link to Sandy's show in the chat. So as soon as you head out of here, click over there and come say hi. Be starting up in, well, it's scheduled for 3 minutes, but probably be a few more minutes. But thanks again for being here, guys, and we'll see you soon in a few minutes.
Thanks, everybody.
Bless you
Good
all.
night.
Thanks for yourselves. Love you, Rebecca.
I love y'all all. Have a great night, everybody.
Yep, love you guys.
Chat, everybody.
Yep.
Bye.
Josh, love you
Yep.
too.
Yep. Good night. Yep. No, you don't. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I don't. Yeah, no, I don't.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
See ya. Yep. Good night.